pink hair. This is the color I wanted them to do, and I got it as a wig. It's a wig. But it's Halloween, so I thought I might as well wear it, and I might just surprise you guys on videos with it anyway, just to shake things up. Isn't it sassy? Anyway, the reason for this video is I feel like there's an overarching difference, a real core difference between America and Japan. Now, I did live in Malaysia for about 3.5 years, and that's completely different from these two countries. Malaysia, nothing against them, nothing against the country, it wasn't for me. You know, it was very, I don't know. I won't get into it. But Japan and America are both first world countries. They're both incredibly amazing. They both are incredibly amazing with technology, with infrastructure, with everything. They're so similar in so many ways. But today I'm going to talk about the main difference between both countries. And I will do a video in a couple days on what America's the best at and what Japan's the best at, because they're both better in certain areas than each other. Not one country is better than the other, but they have differences where they beat the other country a little bit, in my opinion. So I'll do that video later. But the big overarching difference between America and Japan, in my opinion, is that America tends to think of the individual, and Japan tends to think of the group thinking here. So I'll break that down a little bit now. In America, we are taught, not really taught, it's just the way it is in America, that we think about ourselves as a broad spectrum. So we think about, how do I make myself thinner? How do I make myself smarter? I want to make myself more popular. Or maybe I talk too much and I want to make myself quieter and more demure. Maybe it's always about money too. Let's be more successful. Let's get more money. Let's get promotions. I want to make myself a better person. Whether if I meditate more, or I give to charities more, or I'm more of a Zen person. Maybe I want to listen more, or be more attentive, or be a better friend, or a better family member, or a better spouse. All of that's great, but it's about yourself. Again, there's nothing negative about the way America does things or the way Japan does things. It's just the way it is, which is not a problem. So, America has that individual thinking. And I grew up in this country where we had individual thinking. I grew up in America. So I was in America my whole life until John came along and married me. And then went to Malaysia, saw the way they are, and again, don't want to go down that road. Not good. And then back to America for about 3 years, so I got entrenched in the American way of life again. And then we're in Japan for a year now. So you're used to that. You're used to the individual, I'm also meaning, and your family. You know, you think about yourself and your children. You want the best for your children. You want the best for your family members. But it's all around your your own bubble. You know, this space is what's important. You and the people around you that matter to you, your friends and family. This is what we focus on in America. Whereas this is what they focus on in Japan. So Japan has a group way of thinking. They don't think about themselves much. In fact, to their detriment sometimes, I feel like. They're always wanting to please other people, give what they have to other people, offer their time, as much time that's needed to help all these other people. And it stretches far and wide. It's not just them and their friends. It's their coworkers. It's their coworkers' coworkers. It's their friends twice, thrice removed. It's everyone. They want to help everyone. It's always about, and I totally understand this thought process. If I help everyone around me, and they're helping everyone around them, and they're helping everyone around them, it's almost like the pay it forward situation, but constantly. You don't pay it forward to 5 people. You pay it forward all the freaking time to do it. And that's great. I think that that's amazing. So I'll kind of break down a little bit also about what I've experienced here in Japan as far as that group thinking goes. So my husband has, he goes to work here in Japan for this year, and I don't have a workplace to go to. So he kind of comes home and will give me little, nuggets of what it's like to work in the office atmosphere here. So you've heard, I'm sure, about how in Japan, people come home very late. They come home at like 8, 9, 10 p.m., home to their families that are waiting at home, because that's just the way the workplace is. And their thought process behind it is, let's say you have 4 other coworkers, so there's 5 of you, and there's your boss. First of all, none of you leave until the boss leaves. It's kind of like the king's court, like, stay around the king, you protect the king when he's sleeping, okay, then maybe you can sleep, or put someone else on king duty, and then you can finally rest. You can finally have a day off. That's the way it is there. So that's why people are staying so late. Or let's say you have those 5 colleagues and 3 of them have nothing to do. These 2 are still working. These 3 people will stay there the extra 3 hours, 4 hours on their phone, doing whatever, but they're there just in case, just on the off chance that those other 2 coworkers need them. Even if they're not involved with their project at all. Even if it's just the assistant is typing up some notes from the day. And the assistant might even be like, no, go home. Really, go home. I'm fine. I'm just typing notes. It's fine. They would still stay there. Just in case she needs help. Just in case she needs to be walked home in the night, because there's so much crime. That's the other thing that's amazing about this group thinking, is there's basically no crime in Japan. There's no guns allowed. And the crimes they do commit, I'm sure, are just like internal business crimes. It's not violent crimes that would affect the group as a total. They don't go in guns blazing into your nearest bank and shoot up the place because they would think about, maybe I might hurt someone. I'm going to hurt someone. The criminals in Japan are thinking about the group. That's amazing. And another example is, about maybe 2 weeks ago now, there was kind of a Halloween hunt thing that was in the park, and I've made friends with some of the moms at Serena's school, and there's this one that's kind of been my particular friend. Her name is Yayoi, and her daughter is Yuina, and Yuina speaks English more than Japanese, actually, because she was born in I almost said England. She was born in America, and they just recently moved here. So the mother speaks pretty good English, too, so it's great. So we were there, and I asked the mother, do we have to bring anything? And she said, oh, no, just have them wear a costume. So she's wearing a costume, but I noticed she had a bag of something. And I was like, oh, no, were we supposed to bring something? Like, I remember asking you. I didn't say that, but she was like, oh, we brought a lunch. And I was like, oh, shit. So then I was like, well, we could just go out to lunch afterwards. No problem. It's fine, But they were insistent that they share their lunch with us. Now, I'm on intermittent fasting, which is a different video, so I wasn't going to eat anyway. But they sat down with Serena, and she just wanted to basically take her whole child's lunch and throw it at my child. Her child had like a sandwich, grapes. They have this onigiri thing, which is like a triangular rice thing with fish eggs or whatever inside. Her daughter had one of those. Her daughter had like a little cake thing. She had all this stuff, and my daughter had nothing, of course, because I was told not to bring anything. So her mother was ready to take the biggest pieces of her daughter's lunch and give it to my child. She was trying to hand my child her daughter's sandwich. And this is another important thing. American children would immediately start crying and saying it's not fair. This other child, whose name is Yuina, her daughter, just sat there and went, nothing. She wasn't happy about it, but she was not complaining. She was not upset. She just sat there and waited for what her mother was going to feed her. It was almost spine-tinglingly amazing. This woman, who's only really met me twice before this, was willing to give her daughter's sandwich and all this other stuff. She was only going to have her daughter eat grapes and I think her cake or something. She was going to give my daughter the grapes and the huge sandwich. I pled with her, please let your daughter keep the sandwich, and maybe if you really want, my daughter can maybe take some grapes. So they ended up flipping. Her daughter had the sandwich and the onigiri, and my daughter had the grapes and like part of the cake. She ended up breaking it in half because Serena does think about other people too. So Serena broke it in half and made sure to share the cake with the other girl. But she was going to give her daughter's sandwich to me, and we were sitting in the picnic place. Other people were on blankets everywhere. Other people, when they heard that my daughter didn't have lunch, were like, does she want some candy? We have some Halloween candy. Oh, does she want this? Does she have a juice? We have an extra juice. From across the field, people were like, what? A child doesn't have lunch? It's like their group senses were tingling. We have strawberries. Actually, they don't. Strawberries are not in season. But they freaked out about what to give my kid. And that was so amazing to me. And they've done it in school too. The things that come to school to me are all in Japanese, and I try my best with Google Translate, but I can't get it all. And I guess one day she was supposed to have, I don't know what it was, a hat or something, because they were going outside and exercise. I gave her everything else on that list, but they didn't have a hat on that list. I don't know if it was implied, but the teacher, I guess, I found out later, the teacher ran back to school, like the 2-3 blocks, got an extra hat for her, ran back. I think it was 2 teachers that ran together, made sure that she got a hat so that her face was blocked from the sun. This kind of stuff is amazing to me. The group thinking. Another example, I'll just keep doing examples because it's amazing to me. Another example is when we first moved here, I was craving Italian food. I was on my period, it happens, and I wanted Italian food, and I was like, there's no way that's going to be in Japan. And John's like, well, no, let me ask my coworkers. He asked one coworker. And somehow by lunch, 5 or 6 people have heard that we were in need of an Italian restaurant. So they were like, this place. Where do you live? Are you close to this place? One of them called his wife, I think he said on lunch break or something, and was like, where's an Italian place? We need to know right now because John's wife needs an Italian place. I didn't need it that badly. But John came home with like a list of Italian places. And similarly, we wanted to go to different places and experience Japan while we're here for the year. He came home again with a list of amusement parks. They have a Legoland. They have a ramen building shop. They have a teddy bear museum. He came home with this ridiculous list we're never going to be able to finish of all these places we could go to, because he probably asked 1 or 2 people and came home with a shopping list of things. That's amazing to me. Another thing I have to tell you, one more quick example because it's amazing, is we were going grocery shopping, and I was so embarrassed. We were going grocery shopping. This was maybe only 2 weeks after we got here, and I wanted oatmeal, right? So we couldn't find it, and the cereal section here is very small. America is like a whole side of an aisle. Here it's like a section maybe as big as me, and not even all the way floor to ceiling, maybe half of that. And it's all granola-based cereal with fruit in it. Dehydrated fruit. They don't have sugary cereal. Even kids' cereal is like flakes without sugar, so you don't even get Frosted Flakes. It's very healthy in some places here, and that's great. But I was looking for oatmeal. So he asked one person, and the person didn't know what we were asking. So he looked it up in Transmeal, and I guess it's oatmeal. It's not oatmeal, it's oatmeal, something like that, where it sounds like you're saying oatmeal. So he's trying to explain to that person who's looking it up, and they were confused. They came back with one other person. That person was also looking at Google Translate. So now we have my husband, myself, and my daughter, and these 2 workers in this aisle. And if you've seen my Don Quixote video, it's a very small, there's small aisles here. So then one person stays with us, and the other person goes away and comes back with 2 more people. So now we have 4 workers. I'm like beet red. I was like, never mind, it's okay. I just, I'll just grab one of these cereals. It's not a big deal. I don't really care about oatmeal to this extent. Like, and at this point, after this experience, for the rest of my life, I'm not eating oatmeal. Like, screw oatmeal. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So now the aisle is so crowded, people can't get through. They're like going around other aisles because, of course, it doesn't bother them. It's the group thinking, no problem, we'll just move on. But I'm embarrassed that we've called on the whole staff of this building to find freaking oatmeal. And this whole time I'm like, no, please, it's okay, it's okay. Then they were calling around. One of them called to another store. Do you have oatmeal? This crazy American wants it. Anyways, the end result is they didn't have oatmeal. None of the Don Quixotes had oatmeal, and we had to go somewhere else, and they were so sorry. And then after that, they each, in turn, apologized with a bow to me. I'm so sorry, we couldn't find. Oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't have oatmeal. I'm so sorry. It's almost like they lined up like when you're, saying hi to a king at his ball. Hello, Majesty, thank you for having us. And the next person in line, thank you, Majesty. It was like that. They all did a deep bow. And of course, the deeper you bow, the more you're apologizing because they didn't have oatmeal. You know what I mean? If you were to go to a grocery store in America and ask, hey, what aisle's oatmeal in? They'll just be like, oh, it's in aisle 5 on the left side. And that's not that it's bad, but that's all we need, So to go more into the individual versus group, I feel like in America, there's pros and cons to being individualistic thinking. The pros are that we become a better person, generally speaking. If you look at yourself now, let's say your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever your age you are now, and you look at yourself 10, 20 years ago, you look at this past you and you're like, what the? Look what I was. I was so messy back then. I was so fat back then. I was so whatever back then. I was whatever. Look at how horrible I was and look at how much better I am now. And in that way, it's amazing because the group thinking here, they don't really better themselves. They're not really reaching for that further education, that further, betterment of themselves. Because it doesn't matter, the group matters. So in America, that is cool, that we are constantly improving ourselves. Whether we're getting more money, we're becoming a nicer person, introspection is all that's necessary to make sure that we are spreading this through the world, through our own empowerment of ourselves. We are then making the world better in America, right? The other positive to individual thinking is that we are self-sufficient in America. Again, that grocery situation. Hey, it's in aisle 5 on the left-hand side. That's all we need. We don't need people to walk over. In Japan, they would walk over, show you the product, make sure it's to your liking, and then leave. In America, I have had people walk me up to a product, but not as often. Usually, hey, it's in aisle 6 on this side. Okay. And that's all we need. Why do you think there's so many handy, do-it-yourself, all the Home Depot shops, all the Fleet Farms, all the craft stores, all these things in America we're going to do it ourselves. All the YouTube videos of people, doing their own flooring that they've never done before in their new house. Let's do it. No problem. We are very much, as Americans, let's get it done ourselves. We don't need anyone's help. We're going to do it ourselves. Why not? We'll elicit some help if we need some help moving a furniture item. If we need to move a couch to another house, we'll ask someone to help us. But in general, we're very self-sufficient. We got this. We got it. No problem. Another positive thing is that we're highly adaptable, I feel like, as a country. Because we've gotten so used to dealing with things on our own. When you teach your kids, wipe your own butt, clean your own room, start cooking your own meal. You want to start cutting up these veggies, figure out how to cook your own meal. We get them ready to then go out into the world and also be a self-sufficient American. Because in America, they will not survive without those skills, right? It's true. It is. So if you're going to stay in America, you need to start being self-reliant. You need to figure out these things for yourself, and you need to take that initiative. So those are the positive things. The negative things, of course, about being very individualistic is that it tends to leak into selfishness. There are some people that I have stopped being friends with or have cut off ties with. There are people I see in stores or hear stories about that are very selfish. They're very much about me and not so much about other people. Kind of the downside to that, of course, is the selfishness itself, but then there's also people like me and my sister Kaylin and my mother. There's more, but those are the top 3 in my family I can think of where we are all very giving people. We tend to get excited to give people gifts and to see the look on their face when they are happy, knowing we've made them happy, giving. And in a way that's kind of selfish because it makes us happy by giving. But anyways, that can be a problem for people like my sister, my mom, and I, because we can sometimes be doormats. People who are not a giving person like that tend to take more, right? So if they know they can keep taking from us and taking from us, they're just going to keep pulling forever. And, there's some people like that. I tend to be more giving. My husband tends to be more taking. But neither one of us are at an extreme level of that. John has been much better with that in recent years. So he's, and I've been better at trying not to say yes to everything. We're both trying to fix, again, individualistic feeling, right? Now with the group thinking in Japan, there's positives and negatives to that too. The positives to the group thinking is that you have this sense of that you always have someone. You can always lean on someone. There's always someone who's going to help you. Your neighbors will help you. Your friends will help you. If you forget that thing for your kid at school, someone at school over there at that picnic is feeding your kid. You know it. You know that if you drop the ball, someone's going to pick it up. Someone is going to be there for you to help you. If you have a problem, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to look on YouTube to figure out how to whatever. Just call your neighborhood carpenter. He'll come over and do it for free as long as you give him a sandwich. And it's almost the ultimate pay it forward. You help everyone, they help everyone, and it's not just the circle in America. You're not just helping your friends and family. You're helping your neighbors' neighbors, your pets, your neighbors' pets, everybody. And they're doing the same thing. So you have this radiation circle of love. The other big positive is the very low crime rate. Low crime rate in Japan. It's ridiculously low. You don't have to worry anymore if you're going to go out and be mugged or something. Because if on the off chance you are, probably in Tokyo, on the off chance you are mugged, that person's going to call the police and that person's going to chase him down and that person's going to chase him down and you got it. You just got to stand there and be scared while everyone else takes care of it for you. You'll get your purse back. So that's a huge positive. There are some negatives though. I feel like as a group, you would be more dependent on people. Because you're used to leaning on someone, if that person isn't there, like if suddenly they lived in America, they're used to leaning, they're probably going to fall. You're depending on people to help you all the time. None of them ever live alone. Most Japanese people do not live alone. And if they do, it's in Tokyo, where the neighbors are on top of each other anyway. And because you have such a group thinking here, they're going to help you as if they live with you anyway. So, which is actually what John told me the other day. His sister is thinking of moving to America, and she lives here in Japan, actually. She's so used to the group thinking that he's a little worried that if she moves to America, we're all just get it done ourselves. She's going to be a little lost, so the group thinking has made them very dependent on each other. Maybe to the point where they won't pack their kids' lunch because they know everyone else will bring lunch for them, or they won't try as hard in certain areas because they know that their other colleagues will pick up the slack. So in that way, if you picked them out of Japan and put them in any other country, they're going to struggle. And on that note, another negative would be that they're not very adaptable to change. They'll resist change at every turn because they're used to this umbrella of support. So let's say your neighbor's son mows your lawn, usually, right? You depend on him to mow your lawn. He leaves for college. The parents are struggling with that change, as any parent would, but then also the neighbors are struggling. You depended on that boy's son to mow your lawn. Now what are you going to do? Now you got to go find someone else. And they would deal with the change. You have to. You're forced to in life. But they would struggle. They would struggle a lot with change. Whereas I feel like Americans are more adaptable because I guess they're used to dealing with things on their own. So Anyways, those are my opinions. I know it's been a long video, sorry, but to me it's an incredible difference. It's an incredible difference. And there's positive and negatives, like I've said, but it's a crazy change here in Japan. So anyway, that's the number one thing I want everyone to take away from Japan. The biggest difference between Japan and America is not the type of Coke that's here, because there is different soda, but it's that. In my opinion. My humble opinion. Okay, bye.